I oversee the education of students, 6 million in 10,000 schools, so very determined to make sure that history is accurate and correct. And I myself was a history major and have been twice to the Philippines, a wonderful country, incredibly beautiful and wonderful people. So I commend all of you who keep the history alive, so we should never forget. We need to remember and avoid this kind of conflict wherever possible in the world. We also want to say thanks to the veterans, to recognize their sacrifices, their incredible, outstanding service, and their sacrifices of life and limb, and what they did to protect the Philippines and the United States. Now, it's essential that this important chapter of American and Filipino history, the savage and deadly fight against the invading Japanese in World War II, must be remembered and taught in our schools. It hasn't been taught in the depth that it needs to be taught. And there again, I thank Cecilia and the Bataan Legacy History Society, because you've been a major advocate pushing for that recognition. Assembly Bill 199 was an effort by Fiona Ma from San Francisco here and Rob Bonta from across the bay, two legislators, assembly members, who said, let's get down to business and get some deeper recognition of the contributions of the Filipino soldiers and the Filipino people and what happened and the friendship that was forged out of those adversities. We have a curriculum committee of experts in history and social science, and they're creating a framework for California public schools. Includes a deep discussion of the Philippine campaigns of 1941 and 1942 and 1944 and 1945, including again the battle in Intramuros and in Fort Santiago, the liberation of Manila Battle, as well as Bataan, the incredible 99 days of a battle, the 60 terrible miles of the Death March. But to have that included, so that framework makes reference to the contributions of the Filipinos and Filipino Americans to California and United States American history, and it includes mention of the Filipino Repatriation Act of 1935 and other contributions of Filipino Americans in our history. Filipino Americans were there organizing the farm labor for protection and safety. They were there with Cesar Chavez. They were champions at doing this. And so this curriculum now will be deeper and richer for all 6 million students in the state of California to enjoy, to understand as they move forward. The Commission on Curriculum will be meeting next month. It'll be having in November 19th and 20th, they're going to be recommending to the State Board of Education, which is appointed by Governor Jerry Brown, making these recommendations for this curriculum and this richer history. And in May, we hope that it will be adopted by the State Board. Prior to the State Board taking its final action, though, the draft will undergo a second of 2 field reviews when it will be posted on the website I mentioned earlier, my website, the Department of Education, for another 60 days, so that any member of the public, any family member, any other organization, anybody who cares about this can give additional input, and I invite you to do so. It's a big step. We're moving forward. I would like to read you an excerpt from the draft addition to the new new social studies history framework. It says, given, quote, given the emphasis on the war in Europe in the 10th grade courses in California, teachers may want to focus their instruction on the war in the Pacific in the 11th grade course. Students can analyze the strategies employed by the Japanese military in their campaign to conquer Asia and the Western Pacific, and the United States' response to Japanese aggression, using the question, how did America win the war in the Philippines? Students can analyze early American losses, such as the surrender and eventual liberation of the Philippines, to understand and appreciate the sacrifice of individual soldiers and civilians, and the importance of visionary and courageous leadership, the brutality of the conflict, and the necessity of logistical support. So that's a quote from the framework in terms of that will now, as it goes through the adoption process, be a guide to how we should teach and where we should teach. Thank you again for what you do. I think personally, I see history is very important to understand the mistakes of the past so you don't repeat them. It's also, important to always remember and never forget the kind of sacrifices that found our strong democracy. It warmed my heart to see, the color guard bringing in the 2 flags of the 2 countries. What's most important, I think, that comes out of the adversities and the rethinking of what happened, the remembering of what happened, is that we also know we've created a lasting friendship between two countries and between two peoples. And that perhaps is the biggest lesson of all for our students to understand, that we have the benefit of feeling and seeing the wonderful Kababayan spirit of the Filipino people, their respect for family, their honor and respect for their elders. We see that as a role model, as a shining light of a positive example. A partnership was forged. Our countries are bound together forever in friendship and in good memories, as well as the sad memories that we have here today. So I say, let's not ever forget, right? Are we ever going to forget? No. And what do we say? Muha, mabuhay. Mabuhay to the wonderful friendship between the Philippines and the United States of America. Mabuhay and salamat po, and let's have a good day.